Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today. So today we have a stakeholder meeting to go over we refer this to as a public hearing to go over the rules that were proposed at the last commission meeting. It covers proposed amendments to chapters 33, 41, 45, and 50. If for some reason you are unable to make any comments today, or if you have any information or feedback that you want to provide after this meeting, this is not your only opportunity to do so. You can always submit written comments to the agency, and those can be provided up until December 31st, 2023. And you can send those into our rules inbox at rules@tabc.texas.gov, or you can send them through the regular mail to the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission at P.O. Box 13127, Austin, Texas 78711. And I guess just to introduce myself so everyone is aware, I'm Matthew Cherry, Senior Counsel for the Commission, and also with me up here we have Matt Diamond, Special Counsel for TABC. And with that, we will get started. And first up is going to be proposed amendments to Chapter 33. So this first set for Chapter 33 pertains to temporary events. The amendments primarily implement Senate Bill 926 relating to temporary events conducted by mixed beverage permit holders at certain racing events, as well as Senate Bill 1375, which related to providing samples of distilled spirits at temporary events conducted by the holder of a distiller's and rectifier's permit. The amendments to 33.72, 33.77 subsection F, and 33.81 authorize temporary events at certain racing facilities to be held for more than 4 consecutive days, clarify the permittee's record keeping and reporting requirements for those events, as well as clarify where mixed beverage permit holders must purchase wine and malt beverages for those events that are held outside of the county of the holder's primary premises, consistent with section 28.20 of the Alcoholic Beverage Code. Also in Chapter 33, we have amendments to Rule 33.70, 33.71, 33.76, and 33.77, subsection D. Those proposed amendments add temporary events conducted by distillers, rectifiers, permit holders to the current temporary event rules. Also, they acknowledge that certain temporary events are eligible for file and use, even if sponsored by a winery or a distillery. They allow distillers to provide distilled spirit samples at temporary events through the file and use process without having to obtain the prior temporary event approval, as well as clarify the requirements for verifying the wet-dry status of an event location for all temporary events that are conducted by an authorized license or permit holder. The copy that we have up here today is the exact same that was published in the Register, and the same copy that we went over at last month's commission meeting. And at this time, I will open the floor to any comments, questions, or other types of feedback that you want to provide on the proposed amendments to Chapter 33. Not hearing anything, so we will now move on to Chapter 41. And I do want to add, if you think of something later on in the meeting, that's not an issue at all. You can always go back to a rule section or package that we've already covered.
Okay, good morning. We're reviewing TABC's summary of proposed changes to section 4125. TABC is proposing to amend section 4125 related to the sampling of distilled spirits by distillery and rectifier permittees. The proposed change implements legislation from this past legislative session related to distilled spirit samplings or tastings at temporary events, and ensures that current rules align with new laws. Specifically, the proposed changes amend the existing rule to allow these permittees to provide consumers with spirit samples at temporary events, and clarifies that these spirits taken from a permittee's inventory for a sampling or tasting at a temporary event are subject to excise taxes. That concludes the proposed changes to section 4125. I will open up the floor for any comments. Okay, hearing none, I will move on to TABC's proposed changes to section 45.117. TABC is proposing to amend Administrative Rule 45-117 relating to advertising specialties provided to retailers by certain permittees. The existing rule sets this amount of advertising specialties allowed by Alcoholic Beverage Code, section 10207B at a fixed amount, currently $125. TABC is proposing to amend the rule to allow the executive director to set the amount of permitted advertising specialties by executive order rather than through administrative rulemaking. TABC believes that this proposed change more closely follows the language as set forth in statute and allows for prompter agency response. That concludes the proposed changes to 45-117. I will open the floor to any public comments.
It looks like we don't have any comments at this moment. Now we'll move on to the last set of rules, and that is for chapter 50. So the proposed amendments to chapter 50 implement Senate Bill 998, which directed TABC to develop a training program on the signs and symptoms of an opioid-related drug overdose and the administration of a opioid antagonist. The first proposed amendment is to Rule 50.3, which simplifies the general process for agency updates to the seller server training curriculum. And the remaining amendments require the opioid-related training to be included in the mandatory course curriculum for seller server training. And by doing that, it increases the minimum minutes of active instruction and student participation in the mandatory curriculum, and it ups that from 120 minutes up to 140 minutes. Based on a lot of the feedback that we have already received, there's a strong likelihood that we will not move forward with the proposed amendments that for Rule 50.40, 50.5, 50.6, and 50.29, which are the proposed amendments that increase the minimum amount of instruction time to include the opioid-related training. Based on the feedback that we've received, that most likely will not go forward with that and only go forward with the changes to 50.3 that just updates and simplifies the general process for when the agency is going to update the seller server mandatory curriculum. I do want to address, there may have been some confusion as to the scope of these proposed amendments. So Senate Bill 998 directed the agency to create the training program for administering an opioid antagonist and to be able to recognize the signs and symptoms of an opioid overdose. The agency has already done that in full compliance and adherence to that legislation. That training is about to go live. This rule package really expanded on that directive from the legislature. And in addition to the singular opioid training, which is about to go live, this was just also adding that same training to the current seller server curriculum. Nonetheless, we strongly encourage all industry members to have their employees and staff to take the opioid related training, even if you are exempt or not required. We do think it has a lot of value to not only the industry and especially to the public. And it also is in furtherance of the state's One Pill Kills campaign. So we just want to make sure that we are strongly encouraging everyone to, even if you're not required, to still take that training. And at this time, that covers all the proposed amendments to Chapter 50. Not seeing anything in the chat, and I do not hear any questions or comments. I'll leave the floor open just for another minute or two, just in case. And again, always, if you think of something after the conclusion of this meeting, you are always able to provide us written comments. That written comment period is going to last until December 31st, 2023. As I was stating earlier, those can be provided via email to TABC at rules@tabc.texas.gov or through the regular mail directed to the Office of the General Counsel, Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission at P.O. Box 13127, Austin, Texas 78711. All right, it does not look like anyone has any comments they want to provide at this time. So I will close out this public hearing. Again, thank you everyone for your time today, and we encourage you to submit written comments. Thank you.
Thank you.